everyone, and thank you for joining us. I will let you know, Kelly and I are both under the weather today, but we so wanted to be here because we're both so excited about this class. So if we're not our usual gregarious selves, just please understand we're both a little under the weather today. But welcome to the Under the Weather, Kelly Taylor. How are you doing? Well, you're under the weather.
How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Always so exciting to have you join us, and especially this class. This class is going to be phenomenal. So exciting. Um, I mean, the coloring, that's the thing. Watching you color is just like it's amazing. It actually is kind of a mindful activity, I think, for a lot of people because it's so relaxing. You get story time. It's a happy place to go watch you do artist markers. Hello,
Well,
everyone.
I do appreciate that, though story time has been few and far between lately because we've been trying so many different techniques. So I do try to sneak it in there when I can.
Now, so the thing that people may not know about this, would you like to reveal the big secret about what's in this kit to our amazing folks that are with us today? The big secret
Sure,
reveal?
I can. So with this particular class, you get the artist markers. There's two new sets of artist markers, which are beautiful color families. But then you also get the stamps and dies, which are illustrated by me specifically for this class.
So excited to have that. And the artist markers in this class, brand new. So they
Yes.
have not been released yet. So the brand new markers, you can see sneak peeks on the website of them. Maybe try to guess the colors that are in there, have some fun with that. But so excited that Kelly was able to design this set. And how does it feel when you get a set in your hands that you've designed? Is that
Um, it's always exciting. Yeah, it doesn't because you get to see it from like I am a paper and pencil illustrator. Like that's where I'm most comfortable. And so going from like just pencil and paper to digital to being produced, into a stamp to actually holding it in your hands and stamping it out, like it's always exciting because you're always, even though you can see it all work together digitally, it's completely different when it's tangible and you can hold it.
absolutely?
And then, of course, do all the techniques with it that you can't do digitally, which is the fun part of the creating.
And the thing that I think is amazing and that makes this class outstanding is that Kelly designed this knowing the colors, knowing she was using the markers. So this is built for artist markers. That was like your goal when you were starting to design this, which is amazing. So they're going to work well together because Kelly designed it that way, which is very exciting.
I did. I pulled them up in my little thing. I just pulled up the color palette on the left-hand side and then was drawn on the right-hand side.
And it's a beautiful color palette. I can't wait for you guys to get your hands on them. We also have, because we're so excited to have Kelly come do this class with us, we have a special code. It is Coloring Kelly. That will get you the early bird price through the 22nd, because at Altenew, we love to give a good discount and a good deal. So the early bird price with the Coloring Kelly will be $129.99. So make sure to use that. And that lets us know too that you came from Kelly, that Kelly sent you over to get that special price as well. So very excited. So when did you start with artist markers? Has it always been there?
I honestly, I think I have the original packaging for set A, which is now, I think they've changed it now where
Yep.
everybody has a name, but it was just set A when it came out.
Yep.
So I think from the first ones that they released, I had them.
And we do have some other classes with Kelly. It's under Latavola, Kelly Latavola, if you look for
It
those
is.
as well. But this will be different than that. So it's, if you have taken those classes and you're like, oh, I don't want to duplicate, it's different. Kelly's going to teach different things, different tips and tricks, which is so exciting. And so Teresa mentioned you are the Copic Queen. What do you think is unique about artist markers versus other types of markers?
Um, I think that the main difference between them is with other alcohol markers, you have just kind of like this vast array of colors. With the artist markers, everything is kind of curated for you. So it works whether you're a beginner and maybe you're not sure how to put your colors together, or if you're more advanced and you're very comfortable mixing up your colors. But like you can purchase one set of markers and have markers that you can be successful with other brands of markers, specifically Copic, like Teresa mentioned. I never recommend people buy the sets because the sets aren't meant to work together like the larger sets.
Yeah.
You might get a pack of like 4 that those go together, but even that's pretty much that's new. The artist markers have always been, maybe here's, 2, 3, 4 colors, but everybody's going to make nice and work well together.
And you can venture to other sets because they work beautifully. I know I have a few sets that I always mix and mingle because they blend effortlessly, but that's one of the things I first loved about artist markers. I didn't have to think. It was like blending. We have the families. You don't have to think. You can go wild, but you don't have to. So
Right.
days like today when you're under the weather, or if you're a newer crafter, it's great to have that just grab and go, which is nice to take the thinking out of it. How would you say someone should introduce the artist markers to someone new to using them into card making?
Um, Introduce someone new to them. I think probably because they are curated the way that they are, and I don't think you would have a hard time at all introducing that. I don't even think you would even need to give them any instruction because it's very clear which colors go with which colors. Maybe some instruction on the nibs and the different way to use the nibs, but really they're super user friendly. You really don't need too much instruction to get started with them and have them be successful.
And what do you think for what's a good image for like a beginner possibly to color
Florals.
florals? Like a bigger one, or do you think a smaller?
Bigger is always easier.
Bigger
Bigger
is
is
always
always
better.
easier. Yeah, it's just because when you are coloring smaller items, you trying to get any sort of shading, like, let's say you have a 4-color blend, trying to get 4 colors into a smaller image is substantially more difficult, and it is you're going to have a harder time not having it bleed outside of where you want where the image is stamped, or if you're doing no line coloring, maybe where you want your edges to be. So doing something, I mean, you don't want to do huge because then you run into the issue of coverage, but like a good medium to large size image, I think is probably the best kind of jumping off point. Because it allows you to kind of play with the colors, see how they blend together, and then kind of adapt and grow from there.
And we also have coloring books at Alt New, which for the markers, they're the Exotic Blooms coloring books, which are great because there's, like Kelly mentioned, you can do no line coloring. There's like a light gray one, outline image. Then there's a black one. So if you're just starting, start with that black one and just practice, and you can see your lines and stuff. So we do have those books as well. Hello, everyone, as you're coming in. We're so glad you're here. Even if you're late, it's okay. We're just so happy that you are here. So it's awesome to have you guys joining us. What do you think a common mistake? Yes.
Bridget, I'm
Yeah.
going to hand this over to you for 1 second,
No
and
worries.
I
You
will
take
be
your
right
time.
back.
No worries. You take your time. As I mentioned, so if you're coming in late, Kelly and I are both a little bit under the weather today, but we absolutely wanted to be here with you. So I will just let you know. So it's March 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. So there'll be 3 pre-recorded classes. There'll be 1 live session with Kelly on the 24th, which is so exciting. You'll have your PDF, of course. You may also notice if you look at the picture on the website, that's all new product. everything in that kit besides the card bases are new product for you guys. So you might notice there's something in there called Gem Sparkles. So you guys are getting a sneak peek at another upcoming product. So the Woodland Garden and the Firewood Garden markers, and then of course that beautiful set that Kelly designed, the stamp and the die, which is absolutely amazing, and I think is going to be great for advanced colors and maybe colors that are just beginning. They do. So all of our markers have refills. And the great thing about the refills, I wish I had one close to me, but mine are in the closet, all organized by family. You can use them for techniques. So let's say you want to make some backgrounds. You can use the alcohol marker refills as alcohol inks and make beautiful, beautiful backgrounds. You can do so much with those refills. I highly recommend getting those. And again, the markers haven't come out yet. So those, you guys are getting a sneak peek at this. Hello, as everyone's coming in. Kelly had to run out for a minute. We're both a little under the weather today. So I'm filling in while she had to run out for a moment. So yeah, in this class, of course, if you have seen any videos with Kelly, you know she's great at explaining things if you're a beginner, and she always has those words of wisdom to impart into for the advanced crafter as well. So there'll be something for everybody in this class, and just I can't wait to see everything that is coming with that. Do you guys have any questions that we could answer, or I could answer because I'm here? Do you guys have any? When they release, Ruth, they will be available. I believe they will be in February. I believe in February you can get the refills. And yes, these videos are just Kelly teaching. So you get 3 pre-recorded, 1 live session, all with the amazing Kelly Taylor, which is so exciting. She always
Kelly's
does that.
been doing so amazing today.
When you say amazing and fabulous, she always looks at she's like, oh. You're so welcome.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
We were talking about they asked if they had refills, but there's so much you can do with those refills too. Background.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, they're so versatile to have in your stash. Good to refill your markers. But I mean, I use my markers a lot. I think I've refilled one family. Like they seem to last forever. I haven't really had to refill them that much. So
I don't know that I've ever refilled any, honestly.
yeah, they last.
I've used the refills. Like I've used the refills to do like alcohol ink backgrounds and things like that. Because a lot of people don't necessarily know that you can use those refills for those types of things. But I don't know that I've ever had to refill the marker.
Just my warm and cozy family. Like I use that incessantly. I love that. It's
maybe my grays. Maybe I did have to refill my grays.
But I was able to just put the nibs back in. I didn't have to change the nibs, which is great. We do have nibs at Altenew for the markers as well. And we have tweezers, so you're good to go to refill them. We have videos on how to refill them as well, if you haven't done that before. Somebody asked more about the classes, the length, the hours. So we don't know the length yet. Kelly literally just got this in her hands this past weekend. So Kelly is designing the class as we speak. So we don't know the length of the videos yet. They are at least 15 minutes, but it could be longer. Sometimes we have folks that are like
typically I tend to run 20 to 30 minutes per video. It just depends on what technique we're doing or how the card comes together. But usually that's about what I run. It's about 20 to 30 minutes per video. The lives, I do tend to be a little longer because, you can't edit that. So usually the live is an hour to an hour and a half. I try to come up with a project game plan beforehand, so I'm not sucking up your whole day. Because the first retreat, like live retreat I ever taught at for Altenew, I totally went over my hour and a half window, but thank God I was teaching 2 classes. So I was the next teacher. So I only ran into my own time.
And that's okay. And then yeah, so what happens is the live session is going to be on the 24th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But the pre-recorded classes, so at midnight on the 22nd, or if you live in California, say in the Pacific time zone, 9 p.m. on the 21st, which is kind of cool, you get the pre-recorded classes. Those release at midnight on the 22nd, 23rd, 24th. Then you get to color again with Kelly on the 24th. So very, very exciting. What are some common mistakes you think beginners have with artist markers?
I think they give up too soon. Yeah, and I am guilty of that as well. Like when I first started coloring with alcohol markers, I wasn't getting the same results everybody else was getting, and I'd get frustrated and I'd quit.
Yeah.
And then I'd come back to it because I had already had such a monetary investment into it. And so I would try again and I would get frustrated because it didn't look like everybody else's. I couldn't get the dimension that I wanted and I'd quit. Um, so you just like anything else you're learning, you have to practice.
Yeah.
You have to. Or you're not, it won't become muscle memory. It won't become a skill set that you can fall back on if you don't practice. So I think oftentimes the biggest mistake people make is that they give up on themselves or their project or their coloring in general just too early. Sometimes you just got to push through the ugly.
I think that's like should be a catchphrase in the card industry. Like, push
Yeah,
through when it's ugly,
any art, you just gotta.
embrace the ugly. Like there's just because we all have I did that this morning. I was ink blending. I grabbed the wrong ink, put it on. You know what? In the end, it was gorgeous. And I'm like, oh, when it happens, but push through because you don't know in the end what it's going to be. If you
Yep.
can't evaluate that one section and be like, okay, that's it. It's horrible. You have to look at the
Or
whole
if you're at a point where you're like, oh, I don't really love this, like walk away from it and then come back, because sometimes you have when you're so close to something, and this is something I find to be true with coloring as well. If I spend too much time looking at it, I'm more likely to over blend it.
Yeah.
And then I have no dimension because I've just overworked it because I wanted my colors to blend. But then in doing all of that blending, I have gotten rid of all of my dimension.
Yeah.
And so because, you don't see my cards in real life, you only see them, in photographs or in videos. I do try to include, whether it's on Instagram or my blog or wherever, like close-ups, but my coloring has texture. It's not flat and completely blended out, because if you did that, you would have no dimension. But oftentimes when you're doing the coloring and you're like this close to your own coloring, you think that you shouldn't have that texture, but you should.
Yeah.
Just because you can't see it in photographs doesn't mean that the rest of us don't have it.
And I think too, I've found if I look at it like close where I'm like, I don't know, 12 inches from it or whatever, I am like, oh God, I can see this is all wrong. But if I hold it out, because nobody looks at your card like this. I mean, nobody has your card like this in their face. And that's how we look at it. We look at it so close. But if you
Yep.
hold it out, it's like two different cards almost. You don't see what you saw when it was so close. So that,
Well, plus when we're working on something for so long, we're much more likely to be nitpicky about it.
yes.
Like, oh, this one area doesn't look, the way that I want it to, or whatever. And like you said, when somebody's opening a card that you've sent them, or they're taking it in as a whole.
Yeah.
They're not taking it in as somebody who worked on this section, this section, this section, this section, like you did. And so your brain's compartmentalized all of the different sections. They're taking it in as a whole picture. So just because this one little part over here maybe isn't what you want it, like, girl, they ain't even going to see it. Move on. Let it go.
And I think, and I know I've talked to you before about this, and it's the also don't compare yourself to anybody. Like don't even compare yourself to yourself. Like just,
Yeah, comparison is the thief of joy.
yeah, and enjoy it, because
So,
otherwise you're always going to be at that level where you're
oh
like,
yeah.
oh, it wasn't as good as so and so's, and it's so
Yeah,
I
and
can't
even now, like where I'm at the point where, I'm pretty comfortable with my skill set. I'm always still trying to learn, still trying to grow. And, depending upon what we're talking about, Like there's people in the industry who are so much better than me at this or this or this or this. But it doesn't matter because the only thing I'm trying to be better than is myself from yesterday. Like
Yeah.
that's it. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm growing, that I'm accruing new skills, that I'm seeing progress in my own art journey. And nobody else's matters to me. In fact, it's none of my business. Like I'm super happy to look at them and see their process and see their progress and how they're growing and cheerlead them on.
Yeah.
But their art is different from my art. It's different from Bridget's art. It's different from, you know, his art and her art.
Yeah.
And thank God,
Yes.
because if we were all making the same thing, like, bleh, it'd be so boring.
It would. There was a You, Me, and Dupree. There was a quote where Owen Wilson said, you have to bring your own ness. So you would bring your Kelly-ness, I would bring my Bridget-ness. And we all bring our own ness. We all bring our own amazingness, essentially,
Yes.
is what he was saying, in that we really do. Hey, Mindy, hello, hello.
Hi, Mindy.
Another amazing colorist as well.
Yes.
So what else do you do with artist markers? Do you just simply color with them, or do you do any techniques with them, or?
Um, so typically I do like mostly, you know, I do the coloring. I have you, like I said, use the refills to do some backgrounds and things like that. One of the, which I think was honestly my favorite class, one of the classes that I did for Altenew, this was several years ago, was called One Layer Wonders.
Yes.
And it basically, the whole class talks about creating dimension in a flat lay card
Yeah.
with just markers and stamps, just the techniques that you can create with your markers to get lots of, you know, dimension. And that one was probably one of the most fun classes that I've done because I love a one layer card. Oh, I love a one
I
layer
was gonna
card.
say, you are known, like, you think Kelly Taylor one layer card, like that. I mean,
Yes. Oh,
it
I
looks
love
like you
one.
could walk into the scenes that you make. I mean,
Thank
it's
you.
absolutely amazing. Yeah, your flowers look like you can touch them, and your scenes look like, sometimes I'm like, I just want to be in her card. Like, I just want to go there because a lot of your
Sometimes,
cards are
like
so
on days like
relaxing.
today, it's what is it? It's 9 degrees here today, and I had to drive my kids to school in a snowstorm. I wish that I could just color up a little tropical
Tropical.
island and just jump right in.
Send it to me. I want to go too.
Yeah,
We're getting
I'll
a
send you a
storm
little
tonight.
invite.
I got this storm coming, so it's coming my way, Kelly. So let's go
Yeah, well,
someplace tropical.
you know, it's gonna get all of us.
Yes, eventually, yes. One of the ladies had said, you didn't have to change out of your robe. You would have been fine.
Oh, don't you worry. As soon as this is over, I will be right back at it.
And so, let's see. How do you, like, in a class, how do you encourage creativity and, like, individuality for each of the participants, kind of in a class, like when you have a group class? How do you encourage individuality, kind of?
So usually what I will tell people is for me, the switching things up and making things your own. And like I always say, I still want it to look like a Kelly card,
Yeah.
is in the details. So, you know, if we're doing maybe some color glazing where we're laying colors on top of each other, and um, let's say we have a blue down, okay? We're coloring a blue flower. You can do the color glazing with anything that's analogous. So anything that's next to it. So you could, maybe you want to lay a pink over the blue and make it more purple. Maybe I want to lay a purple over the blue and make it more blue violet. And maybe Mindy wants to lay a green over it and make it more teal. And it's all the same technique, but switching up what color you use will not only change the color combination that you get, but it'll change the feel of your card.
Yeah.
So maybe a pink is going to be a little bit happier, where maybe a blue violet is going to be a bit more subdued. You know, maybe it's a more muted card. But that's all just like the details of how you do things. Adding maybe some white gel pen, adding some sparkle, or if you're into like pastes or rhinestones versus sequins. I mean, there's all these like little detail things that you can do that's going to make your card different from mine, even if we all start with the same image, even if that's a layering image. Altenew does these layering images that are beautiful, and they look so realistic. And those are great if you're not a colorist and you just want to stamp them down and they look stunning, but everybody's looks the same. But just by changing one color here or this detail here, you can completely change the look and the feel of that card just in the details.
And that's the exciting part too, is we will have the Facebook group getting set up and for the class, and you get to see all of, the individuality, what people took from your words and what they turned it into. And I mean, it's amazing to see. It's going to be even more amazing when you design the stamp set and you see where folks go with it. I mean, that has to be just amazing.
That probably is like the best part, is seeing how because it's wild to me, like that this is something that I drew, sitting on my couch. Let's be real, in my robe, sitting on my couch in my robe. That somebody, across the world is going to have that in their hands and is going to create something for their loved ones and, their family and friends. And I love, like, please, if you are using the set, please share your photos, please tag me so that I see them, because I want to see them.
It is, because when you design it, you kind of have an image, like,
For sure.
There's mock-ups on the die set, it's colored in with colors, and you kind of see an idea. But it's sometimes, even me not designing it, I look at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, I never would have thought of that. Like, the ideas that the participants have are just like, it's so inspiring. Like, I'm like, I got to get it out now, and I want to try that, because you see everybody's different take on it. Oh, couch robe watching Moana with Jelly Bean.
Yeah, well, she's off the Moana right now. She's not on the Moana anymore. We were for a long time, but now she's into what was the last one? The Lion King, which I love because I'm a
Oh,
child of the
yes.
90s and I still know all the songs. Yes, I do. But then, like, I start singing along, she'll look at me and go, "Stop it." She's like the most polite, rudest baby. She'd be like, "Stop, mommy. No, mommy." And I'm like, I know that I'm not a great singer, but you don't have to be mean about it.
That's a little hurtful. Yeah, I can't remember most things, but I remember all the Sesame Street songs. The Lion King probably could quote verbatim. I don't know. Can you shake those things out of your head eventually? Like, my son's going to be 28 in a couple of weeks, so I don't need Sesame Street songs
No, I think
anymore.
you're
I need
stuck with those
space.
things.
Sometimes
Yeah,
you can't
no, I think
defrag
you
your
are
brain.
absolutely stuck with them. My son, who is 10 now, his favorite was Wreck-It Ralph,
Yep,
and Bolt, the
the
little
dog.
doggy.
Yes.
Yeah, so we watched those I remember one time, this is so funny. This is like the mom thing, which is terrible. And I just, so he was probably about Caitlin's age now. He was maybe like 2, 3, and it was time to lay down for a nap, and he hated sleeping because he's my kid. And so he's got like FOMO. He's fear of missing out.
Oh, yeah.
So I went to go lay him down for his nap, and he was crying, and I was like, "No, buddy, it's time to lay down." So I laid him down, and as I was walking out of his bedroom, there's a line in Wreck-It Ralph where she is talking to Ralph, and Nathan then said it to me. He goes, "You're a bad guy, mommy." And like, I just kept walking because I wasn't going to give him any attention. But like, I walked out of his bedroom and shut the door and then started crying in the hallway. I was like, man,
You
them
walk out and
Disney
you're like,
movies
oh my
got some
God, I'm the worst mother
zingers.
ever.
It really, it got me.
There are some things they say, and yeah, it's just like, oh my God, like you're like, oh God, you can't get
Oh,
over
and
it
he had
more.
no idea what he was even saying. He
No,
just knew
he
that
thought
it
it was
was like a
funny.
poignant part in the movie
Yeah,
that made an impact. And
yeah.
so he was gonna repeat it.
He's gonna
And he
try it
was
out.
accurate because yeah, it was awful. It was
Do you find coloring like die cuts? How does that do you think that's a good thing for a beginner to get into, or do you think stamp sets are better? That's a tou
It
I know it's a
depends.
toughie. It's a toughie.
Yeah, it depends. So if you're looking for more detailed coloring where you're getting more comfortable with shading and things like that, I would recommend stamps
Okay.
because it gives you the security blanket of the outline.
Yeah.
The outline will guide you. You're not going to lose your line. You're going to see exactly where you want to color. Once you're more comfortable with that and you're getting into maybe where you want to experiment with some no line coloring, then you could probably move into I would do dyes before I did no line coloring. Because with no line coloring, there is nothing to hold your line.
Yeah.
So you put it in or you don't. With dyes, at least you have a shape
Yeah.
so that when you're coloring with no outline, the shape isn't going to change because it's die cut.
Yeah.
So I would say stamping, then die cutting, then no line coloring. Because no
And
line coloring, even for me, is still challenging.
some
If I
days
have
yeah.
a more detailed image, I have to take my time.
And I mean, it's an investment. I mean, those cards are the exclusive card list because it is especially no line coloring because it takes even a smaller image. It takes a long time because you don't have the comfort of those lines that give you your space to work in. You have to create basically the line that is no line there with your coloring. So but it's fun once you get to that point. It is fun to see. Now, do you color embossing folders a lot at all?
I It depends. So I tried when Altenew first came out with 3D embossing folders. I was like, let me get in here and see what it is how I would like to add color to these. And actually, the way that I found that I liked the best to add color is my metallic watercolors
Those are gorgeous. Those are
because there's like
gorgeous.
no way to go wrong.
Yeah.
You just bebop them right over the top, and they're beautiful.
I can see you just dancing across, bebopping.
Yeah, just right over the top of them. And it's pretty. You can't go wrong with it. Plus the
No.
metallics, most of them, like you could get away with the neutral colors, no matter what your color palette is, and it would be
Yeah.
stunning because their 3D embossing folders are so detailed.
Yeah. And they're great for splatter too. Like if you are just like, well, I don't know if I'm there yet or I can color, those are great for like adding a little sparkle shine to your
Yes.
projects as well. Now, I had a question for a tip, but I think I have a good question that would help beginner artist marker users. The blending pen. How do you use the blender pen? Because so many people think it blends. The name is a little kind of
Yes.
confusing. So what tell us about the
So
blending pen?
the blender pen is basically used for one of two things. The thing it's used most for is fixing your errors. So think of it as like comparatively to other people's colorless blender. So this is what the blender pen is what you're going to use if you have any color that is bleeding out, or maybe you got color into an area that you want to color a different color. Like that's what you would use the blender pen for. The other thing you can use it for is to lighten any areas where maybe things got a little bit too dark, or maybe you have a 4-color blend and you're like, I really wish I had one color that was lighter for these highlights. You could go in with your blender pen and hit those highlight areas and it will bleach them out more. But it definitely is not one, you're not going to be layering it like maybe you would with a pencil, like a blender pencil, where maybe you would do a color, you would do your blender pencil, you would do another color, you would do your blender pencil until it was all smooth and all like the tooth of the paper was filled in. With markers, it is not that way. You don't want to be layering that blender marker over because you're just going to bleed out your image. It's just there's going to be too much moisture. Your paper will become saturated and it will go all over and you don't want that.
Because that's
Or
basically
maybe you
alcohol.
do. That's a look. That's a
Yep.
look.
Yep.
But yeah,
It's basically a straight alcohol. I mean, essentially, that's in
yes.
the blender pen. Do you want to explain just the difference between so there's more pigment in the darker that as they go up in the 4s.
Yeah, so basically when you're, let me see, what do I got? Hold on. I'm trying to see if I have any of my, usually they're stored up there.
I know I had an alcohol ink in here forever, so I was going to show it. Then I'm like, nope, they're in my closet. So I couldn't, because they're a cool shape.
No, these are all dye inks. What did I do? Okay, all right, hold on.
And just
I haven't even opened them yet. I have not even opened them yet.
While Kelly is looking, you can use any of our dye inks. They are alcohol marker friendly. So you can use the whole collection. So if you want to do a no line, you could use like buttercream or limestone. I'm a fan of limestone. I love limestone. But you can use any of them to color with. They're safe for your markers.
Right. I'm not going to show you the whole thing because I want it to be a surprise. But I am going to show you one combination.
Everybody is now like glued. They are like right next to the screen, whatever screen they're on. They're ready to go, I'm sure.
So let's just do one combination.
Faye said, so the blender pen is sort of like an eraser?
Kind of, yes. Kind of. If you're going through, some colors are more stubborn than others. So like reds and pinks are harder. Make sure you're giving yourself time for it to dry in between. So if you're going in and trying to remove the color, give it 15, 30 seconds, wait for it to dry. Alcohol dissipates super fast, and then do it again. If you just keep going over it while it's wet, you're just going to saturate it and cause it to run, and none of it's going to evaporate.
The blender pen does not come because Kelly will blend beautifully with the markers. So we didn't need the blender pen for this class, but you can purchase it at Altenew.
I got my colors here.
I'm curious which family you picked. Oh, that's a pretty one. Yeah.
All right. It's a sneak peek. Let me hold it up here. So you have your lighter color, you have 2 midtones, and you have a shadow color. So this color has more alcohol and less pigment, where these have a medium amount of both, and this is going to have less alcohol and more pigment. Can I show you the blender pen in class? Probably. I make lots of errors, so there's a pretty good chance I'm going to need it.
It may make a special appearance. So Laura, if you look on the website, it'll list what's in the kit, and you can see it in the picture, everything in there. There's the gem sparkles, A2 cards, the 2 marker sets, the stamp and die set that was created by Kelly, and the live will be at 1 p.m. Eastern on 3/24. And Coloring Kelly is our code, and it's good through the 22nd. So if you're like, oh, I can't do it today, but just remember the 22nd, you don't want that to expire on you. So,
and if you've come from my channel, like I will share it again over there on my community tab, just in case anybody didn't make it over this way. I know people work. Did you know that, Bridget? People work.
You're working right now.
I'm working right now, but from the comfort of my own home.
Yes. We do have that. We do get to work from home, in roads
and days like today where it's like snowing and cold. Like I've never been so grateful to work.
These are the days that you're like, yeah, when it's nice out, you're like, I miss human contact. And then days when you have like 2 feet of snow, you're like, okay, this is good. I can get the fire going.
Here where it's warm and I don't have to drive is good for me.
Teresa, yeah, make sure you got that coupon code because we just released that coupon code. So if it didn't happen, just reach out to customer service just to make sure. So because we just released that, so I just want to make sure. We love when you guys get a discount. And yes, if you want to check out the blender pen, it is listed. It's called the blender pen. I know sometimes they have fancy names, but a blender pen on the website. Yes, Kelly used to be a dispatch, and then
technically still am.
Oh, really? Oh,
I'm still working. Well, okay. I still worked part-time last year, but I have not yet worked this year. So I'm still employed there, but I'm not exactly putting in hours.
Oh, wow. So, wow. You're doing it all, literally doing it all. Like,
yeah. Well, that's why I don't put any hours in there.
we're so glad you came home to focus on your crafting full time because we have the beautiful stamp set. We'll have this amazing, amazing class with you. So we're so grateful that you jumped and took the chance on it all working out for you. For folks that missed the code, it is Coloring Kelly. Put that in again through the 22nd. Aeronology said, you were the kid in the school that teachers always said, Kelly, quit coloring and pay attention. You're never going to do coloring for a living. And former dispatcher here too. Oh, you have a fellow dispatcher with you.
Well, thank you so much for your service. I know it
Yes.
is not an easy job.
No.
I used to get yelled at for like not coloring, but like doodling, like drawing while I was taking notes. But ironically, when I first graduated, I was graduating high school. I wanted to go to school for graphic design, and I let some people talk me out of it. And then when I was going to school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I took a criminal evidence course, and I was like, so this seems simple, criminal justice it is. And then I'm like, now if I had gone to, it would have changed the entire course of my life, and I would not have met my husband, who which I could not do this for a living without my wonderful husband. But like, God puts you on a trajectory for a reason. But I sometimes think to myself, if I had just gone to school for graphic design when I was 18, like I wanted to, like, how different would my situation be? But that's okay. I'm blessed to be able to do it at any time, even if I'm getting kind of a later start in life. That's all right.
And you know what? It all comes down to timing sometimes. So maybe this was the best timing. You're in the best place, the best location. And we always have those what ifs, but I'm like you. I always remember I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't know who I know today if I changed something. So just go and embrace it. So yeah. There we go. Well, thank you so much, guys. And I intended to keep you for just a half an hour, but we went a little over. And thank you. Somebody did ask, the last question I'll ask you, somebody did ask, when is Kelly going to do a tour of her craft space?
That's an excellent question. It is, yeah.
When the mountains disappear.
This, you can see partially here, like the desk. What do we call that? What does Emily call it? A crafter math?
Yes.
Yes. So you could see a part of it, but like what you cannot see is this whole area here, which is not organized or timely organized. There's a lot of old, a lot of new, a lot of things that don't have homes. So when those things have homes, I will show you this area. So never, probably.
So just things that don't have homes. And I have literally, like, I have
a random baby pacifier.
That'll have to start being a question we do interviews. What is the most random thing next to you?
My son brought me this the other day. Like, I don't
know what to do with that.
No. I can't show people this. Like, I love those organized rooms, and they're amazing.
I dream
but
of
that
being
ain't me. That is not this girl.
I buy all the stuff to do it, and then no.
And then it just sits here.
Yes. Or it gets donated to Salvation Army or something.
Same.
Yeah. But yeah, so I showed the girls. I have probably about a foot high. It's ugly.
I had to take boxes off of this seat right here before we started, so you wouldn't see them.
Yeah, I have on the floor. Yeah. So I think that's what you guys, you think it looks nice. We look so organized. It is so deceitful. Dawn, organization, who dat? I like.
Yep.
We need that.
She knows.
We need that as a hashtag and a t-shirt. Organization, who dat? I love that. And it's
so funny. Like, okay, so like Tracy just said, I couldn't function in a white neat craft room. Yeah. So that's me. Like if it was too sterile, I wouldn't be able to be creative. Yeah. But then I have a girlfriend named Wendy who's like, when it's a mess, I cannot be creative. So it's so funny how you have like two opposite ends of the spectrum. I am over here in the messy, the very messy, super like off the screen messy area is where I live.
like I've told you before, I run on chaos and coffee. That's what I like. If somebody took away the chaos, I don't know what I would do. Like it wouldn't happen. It just wouldn't happen. Yes, as long as we can find what we need and make a card, it's good. It's all good.
Yep.
Well, thank you. And yeah, so Kelly's building the class right now, which is so exciting. So she'll be working on that behind the scenes as you guys get more and more excited. As things, as the class gets built, we'll have some sneak peeks coming. So stay tuned. We'll have the Facebook group so you guys can all go and chat and how much you love your new stamp and die set, which is gorgeous. And then markers, which is very exciting. So we thank you so much for you guys joining us today and bearing with us since we were both a little under the weather. So thank you for bearing with us all.
Thank you for your patience.
Yes. And one last time, Coloring Kelly, save money if you're signing up for the class. This will be posted on YouTube. Somebody said they joined late. Will it be there? Yes, this will be right on YouTube. Head on over and you can watch the whole interview. So if you forget the code, come back, Coloring Kelly. And then Kelly will post it as well, because we want to make sure you get that discount and you come craft with us. We're so excited to see you there. Thank you so much, Kelly, for doing this under the weather with us. We always appreciate and enjoy a nice chat when you come to visit.
Well, thank you so much for having me and also for you pushing through the interview because I know you also do not feel well. So
I think we'll be
I
doing
think
the
we
same
did
thing.
I think we did a good job.
Yeah. Well, we'll do the same thing in just a second. So and thank you from all of us at Altenew for allowing us to help you craft your life. We will see you all very, very soon. Goodbye, friends.